Hey everyone, it's Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. I had a little internal debate over whether or not to talk about this. This is on a Bounding into Comics article, and I decided to talk about it because this is has become commonplace, and I think there are many incidents, probably more incidents that we're all unaware of just intimidation and bullying that happen in the comic book industry. I don't know why it is. I have no idea why people want to assert power over one another in such a small industry where, relatively speaking, there's very little money at stake, but people are willing to sink to really deep lows in order to do it. So, the reason I bring this up is because if you're a fan or if you're, commentator or whatever, maybe you're a creator as well, this kind of stuff doesn't need to be the way that it is. Make friends in comics. You don't need to be subjugating yourself to comic book professionals. I'm doing air quotes that don't know how to act professional. Essentially, they're just there to intimidate and bully. All right, so Marvel writer Dan Slott doubles down on bullying fan over Twitter activity, demands fan delete tweets discussing previous incident. The previous incident apparently was that he blocked a bunch of people. A fan had something on Twitter about the fact that happened, and Dan Slott wanted to bury that lead. So that's what it comes down to. I'm going to skip down. There has been already much said about it, but these are some of the DMs that got leaked, and this is where the intimidation happens. I'm going to apologize right now for Dan Slott's language, and we're going to gloss over those parts. It's done and over with, says, who is this? Quirk? I don't know who Quirk is, but my understanding he's on a YouTube channel with Angleteen or something. Anyway, he says, it's done and over with. Dan Slott says, oh, for F sake. Why is that? And why is that the first and third post on your feed? Why? So now he's got to make that post about Dan Slott blocking people no longer on this guy's feed. Why? I don't know. That seems odd to me, especially if this is a YouTuber that presumably it's basically comics journalism, just like any of these other websites. It's somebody stating stuff online, but so it's not allowed to be on his Twitter feed. So here is Quirk. He said, he asked me to talk about the article. I stuck up for you and said you were actually a really good guy. I really did. You can watch it. And the third post is me saying, oh boy, because it's the crappiest website, Dan. I'm not an a-hole, man. All right, so here's Dan Slott's response. Angleteen is a Comicsgate guy. The whole reason I originally said I was blocking you was because you were following Comicsgate people. And you were like, I didn't know that. And you're giving them a boost on your site and getting their word out there. So I guess the fact that he had this article on his website, again, it's so silly that anyone has the time to go through it into this length is amazing. Seriously amazing. And this is over literally tribalism. And there's an interesting irony here, and that is that Dan Slott is trying to control public perception of him based off of fear and intimidation, because public perception is everything according to Dan Slott. And he'll actually bring up that public perception here in a minute. We're going to get to that. Okay, so Quark says, I even came here to tell you about it. Dan Slott continues, Comicsgate is a hate group. This isn't a both sides thing. This is a group that came into existence by harassing LGBTQ plus members, POC, and women working in comics. Okay, well, any of the harassment that I have seen has been pretty far and wide. I'll tell you that. It has been equal opportunity. Not only that, comic book pros, this stuff is so disingenuous because just some guy or checks off some of these boxes as well. He has gotten a lot of crap from people like Mark Wade and others. It doesn't really matter, especially online with Twitter. You're just going to say terrible things about people. So why does this matter? Why are these points notable? Because that's public perception. And again, Dan Slott is trying to control the public's perception with private persuasion or coercion, perhaps. Let's see, women working in comics. I can link you a dozen of mainstream press articles that break this all down. No matter what BS comic skaters like to spin, they're a hate group. They have members on their live streams who associated with the Proud Boys. The only person I can think of would be Martina Marcosa, but uh, I don't know the whole history of everything, but Martina associated with Gavin McGinnis. Isn't he disassociated with Proud Boys now? I don't know. You see how ridiculous this gets, though, once you get third, fourth person removed. And this is why it's so important for Dan Slott and people of his ilk to block people, because if that makes you a sinner to have any sort of remote connection to anybody, then he's going to go through it. Beyond that, this is sides barring the whole thing of Proud Boys being a hate group. I haven't done all the research on that, but everything I had known, I don't think it has anything to do with that at all. Isn't the leader of Proud Boys not? He's not even white. Wouldn't you consider him POC? I again, not my thing, but all of this is pretty sus. Again, if all you need is an accusation, you don't need evidence. It's all about perception in his mind. This isn't rocket science, man, he finishes. Let me spin here to the next one. You don't balance out that. You don't balance that out by also following Chip Zdarsky and John. Okay, so here we go. If you follow somebody that Dan Slott does not like, that he's deemed a bad person because that person is connected to somebody else who may or may not be connected to somebody else, then he's going to cut you off. This is the craziest thing I've ever heard of, to like shut yourself off like that in such a strange way. I follow people on all sides of the political spectrum, especially in comics, because I kind of want to see what they're saying. Doesn't comics trump the culture war? Like, if you're working in comics, isn't that kind of the point? In this case, apparently not. All right, so you can't balance it out by following people like Chip Zdarsky. Who could you balance it out by? Could you follow the Taliban? Could you do that? Would that count? Is that going to work? I don't think so. All right, so it's not some kind of algebra equation where it somehow makes it okay to reach out and have conversations with members of a full-on hate group. I don't know how to explain it any simpler than that. I mean, this is just hyperbole. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Your tribalism is trumping all logic. You should be able to reach out and talk to anybody. There's that the one dude, I've seen so many YouTube videos. I said that like a total boomer. There's so many YouTubes of this guy that goes and meets with people of the KKK. He's a black man. He meets with them and he discusses it. And he's critical of the KKK, but he still treats them like people. Really fascinating stuff. Look it up sometime. I can't remember the guy's name. But this is not the way to solve problems. If you actually believe that there's a hate group, then all it takes, actually, conversations are the best. The battle of ideas is the best thing that you could possibly do to counter that. But the truth is, it's just not a hate group. It's just not. I can't even tell you what it is now. Is it a club? Is it a set of ideals? Is it customer service? It just doesn't matter. What it's not certainly is a hate group. That's ridiculous. All right. So he's just wrong about this. So he continues. Let me paraphrase an earlier DM. Why are those still the first and third posts on your feed? Oh, you got to delete those. You got to delete those now. Otherwise, I don't know. You've got Dan Slott, one of the most celebrated writers in comics, in your DMs right now. Now he's posting again. All that matters here is public perception. If you can search it on the internet, these are those articles from the Miami Herald, the Washington Post, and Inverse. And all three of these are completely, blatantly biased hit pieces. The first thing I Googled when I found out about Comicsgate, I think this Washington Post article, perhaps. Maybe that came later. But I saw some of these articles, And immediately, I've seen how this game is played. Immediately, I know it's bull. You got to find the other side of the argument. If somebody's actually claiming to be a member of a hate group, that's one thing. If they're angry nerds over comics, that you've got something else you're dealing with altogether. And talking would be the exact best thing that you could hope for. All right, so it continues here. This is from Quirk. I'm not into that side of comics. I'm actually quite ignorant on Comicsgate. Besides, they are a cult. I'm friends with John, by the way. Had him on my channel. He will say I'm not into that crap. They were still on there because I was texting you. What do I have to do to make you believe me, Dan? I'm a fan. I really am. Please don't make me have a bad experience with you. They're gone now. He deleted those tweets. Then he got the thank you. That's all that matters. Where's the apology though, Dan? I mean that's absurd. This is absurd. Are you a hate group if you don't listen to a comic book professional that's throwing his weight around? I mean, that makes you part of a hate group now. So this is absolutely threats and intimidation from a comic book professional. Why on earth does this happen so often? And then he'll go on to, again, make himself the victim on Twitter, learn a hard lesson on social media. Talking about awful people and bad faith arguments gives them oxygen. This is the stupidest thing. The war of ideas, have a better idea other than just trying to malign somebody. If you view the world that way, that it's all about what bad stuff is said on the internet about somebody, then you're going to act like this. This would be rational. You're going to intimidate someone to take it down. I didn't see anybody intimidating those news sites to take those articles down, right? Oh, because that's how you win. That's how truth is created now, apparently. Let's see. If you talk about not talking about something on the internet, you're still talking about it. He continues. My goodness. All right. Anyway, so I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. This is the kind of stuff that it really bothers me. I don't like to see it. And I think it happens far too often. Do your thing. If you're a comics fan, if you're making YouTube videos, streaming, whatever, you do your thing. Nobody else should be able to tell you what you can and can't do, threaten you, try to make your life miserable because they happen to have the privilege of working in comics. That doesn't make them a better person than you because he's able to write Spider-Man and Fantastic Four or whatever. That no better of a person. And it's the actions that matter. And so far I have not been impressed. Anyway, thanks so much. See you in the next video.